This is the Hoka Mach X, and I suggest you watch the full review, but I can already tell you, it's a fantastic shoe. Hey everyone, and welcome back on the channel. My name is Alex, and in today's video we are reviewing the Hoka Mach X. The Mach series had the Mach 4, Mach 5, Mach Supersonic in the last years, and now we have the Mach X, which, as the name suggests, gets that performance upgrade, that performance flavor to the Mach series, which was already quite performance-oriented lineup of shoes. This shoe is releasing early July on runningwarehouse.com for $180. That's also the euro price, 180 euros. And you have a link in the description to Running Warehouse. If you use it, you don't pay anything extra. We get a little kickback and it really does help the channel. So, thank you for using those links in the description. I cannot say it enough. Thank you so much for those of you doing it. The weight of this shoe, Hoka Mach X, 289 grams. So just above 10 ounces for my size, US 11, EU 45. This is, let's say, the upper range for that up-tempo category. But let's look more in details at all the features this shoe has, and it will also explain why it's maybe a bit heavier. And don't worry, the weight is not an issue at all on this shoe. Starting with the upper, you have a jacquard type of upper, engineer type of upper with two layers, one layer on the inside, a very nicely done mesh material, and on the outside you have that plasticky wrap. It's not too much, it's just a perfect amount of material overall for that upper. The tongue is really perfect, semi-gusseted tongue with a bit of padding here, right where you would have some lacing pressure on other shoes. So here in the center of that tongue, just the right amount of padding, very nice. And the heel has some padding, not too much of it. Overall, the upper is comfortable, it allows for a good lockdown, good fit. It's a shoe that runs through the size. The midfoot is a bit snug. You have some room to play with in the toe box. Midfoot is a bit snug and that it has that high arch feeling that some Hoka shoes had in the past. Nothing too hot, nothing too rigid. Very pleasant. And Hoka just nailed that upper, so really no complaints here. Maybe just the laces would be something I would switch for something a tad more, nice and a tad less long, but they're okay, and overall the upper is really good. Looking at the midsole, that's where most of the magic happens in this shoe. At least that's where many updates have been brought to. You have a layer of Peba foam, that's the white layer that you have here that runs through the shoe. And as a carrier foam, you have an EVA, a supercritical EVA foam, that's the green layer that you have here. And kind of sandwiched in between the two, you have a Pebax plate, so less rigid than a carbon plate. You can see it here, you can hear it here. And you can see the shoe still has a very nice amount of flex in the forefoot. Not as much as the Mach 5 that you have right here. That was really bendable in the forefoot. Nevertheless, the Mach X keeps a decent amount of flex despite that new plate being added to the mix here in the midsole. How does the shoe ride and how does it work with that combo of foams and that plate? It's a very balanced ride, a ride that provides you with enough cushion, enough bounce, enough energy return, and enough stability to have that perfect type of balance. It's a very solid ride. 42 millimeters in the heel, 38 in the forefoot for that 4 millimeters drop on the men's shoe, a bit less on the women's shoe. I believe it's 37, 32 with a 5 millimeters drop. Very interesting 5 millimeters drop, allowing you to strike a bit more towards the midfoot and allowing you to push a bit more the paces, being a bit more on your toes. Something that I, kind of missed on the previous Mach shoes that were more training options for me. This is definitely a shoe that I want to pick up the pace with. I want to go a bit faster with it. The Peba foam also encourages you to go faster, to use that bounce and to use that energy return to propel yourself a bit stronger towards the next step. Definitely something very nice. You do not feel really the plate. I would assume that it's here to kind of stabilize the Peba layer of foam, although you have that carrier foam underneath. You do not really feel it. It's maybe something that I would see as a drawback. If you have a plate in a shoe, maybe you want to have a bit more snappiness in the forefoot and a bit more of that pronounced, plate feeling, which is a bit missing here. but I don't know how it would ride without it. So let's assume it's a combo, and you need that plate to stabilize the Pebax foam. The carrier foam, I think, will allow for more durability in this shoe. It also kind of encapsulates the Pebax foam, definitely offering more stability thanks to that slightly firmer, slightly denser layer of foam underneath. It is not as firm as the traditional EVA that you had on the Mach 4, Mach 5. It's more of that Pro-Fly Plus supercritical EVA that you had on the Mach 5, the orange layer, so the top layer, the slightly softer layer. That's what this green layer is like. Outsole, it is a very, very thick layer of outsole. I would assume that the shoe will have a very good durability both on the foam side, but also on the wear side here on the outsole. I would look at, I would say it's probably 4 or 5 millimeters of rubber outsole here on after 35 kilometers in this shoe. I cannot comment on any wear and tear, anything significant, but the Mach X is definitely a shoe that will offer some durability at this $180 price point. That's the least you can ask. How would I use this shoe and would I recommend it to you? Yes, I would highly recommend it to you. If you enjoy the Mach 4, Mach 5, Mach Supersonic, that's an upgrade that will make the difference in those slightly longer sessions, slightly faster paces in your workouts, just because of the Peba foam that will save your legs a bit more and that will also encourage you and make it faster to run at faster paces. So a really nice upgrade from Mach 4, Mach 5. They could almost work together in rotation, Mach 5 being more of that trainer shoe, that shoe that maybe you will get when you need to have a bit more ground feel, in the forefoot especially. This one being something for longer distances, when you want to have that leg saving effect for the day after, if you're like in a marathon block. That's really where this shoe could come handy. I would see it for some people as an all-rounder type of shoe, from easy paces up to intervals. I would myself use it as an endurance shoe, longer runs and maybe tempo workouts. Although at tempo paces for me, despite it being working nice and the foam reacting well, it feels a bit clunky, reminding me of some Hoka trail shoes like the Mafate Speed. You can feel you have something, around your foot, and that's probably also the stack height. 42 millimeters is quite something, and even more in my US 11 size. So yeah, probably endurance runs, long runs, but this is definitely an option that I would see myself picking over some other shoes in that category. Certainly for me, over the Mach 4 and Mach 5 for longer runs at least. Not necessarily for tempo sessions, but for longer runs, yes. And probably also a shoe that I would prefer to the Boston 12 that we reviewed recently, just because it has a bit more of something in each category. The upper is a bit better, the midsole is a bit softer and a bit more leg saving. The shoe just works a bit better overall. $180, runningwarehouse.com, early July. I hope you enjoyed this review. Let's link to the Hoka Mach 5 review that we did last year. Interesting review and interesting to have in mind. Let me know in the comments if you want to have a comparison between this shoe and the Mach 5 right here. Enjoy your run today, enjoy your ride, and go beyond your limits. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.